this is Leanne from 3S Designs, Strokes, Stroke Survivor Silks. I thought I would show you a video of how I make a vase of red roses for Valentine's Day with silk flowers. Keep in mind that I'm a stroke survivor, so I'm designing this with just one hand because my left arm does not work still and my left hand does not work, still paralyzed. So everything I do, I'm doing with one hand. So you'll see me taking shortcuts on how to design because I only have one hand. For example, holding the vase against my body for support instead of using my left arm. Sometimes I have to use my mouth to cut flowers because I don't have my left hand. So I'm going to try to talk to you about designing and show you the ways I'm doing this with being a stroke survivor. So the first thing I'll show you is I've got a glass red vase, and I've already glued my block of Oasis in the bottom of the vase. Using my hot glue pot, I put the Oasis in there, put it all the way down at the bottom, and then I filled my vase with some marbles to make it so it's not too top heavy when I finish with it. And then I covered my Oasis with sheet moss because you don't want to show your mechanics when you're making a design. You want to cover up as much as you can. I like to start with my greenery first, so I'm going to green up my vase of roses first, and then I'll start with my red roses. So I like to use grass in the middle of the vase to give it some height. This is when I have to use my mouth because I don't have my left arm. I'm going to cut the stems of grass apart so I've got lots to use. Like I have this one big stem of grass, but it has a whole bunch of little stems on it, and I'm going to cut those all up so that I can spread them around my vase. I buy a lot of my supplies from Hobby Lobby, Michaels, AC Moore, and I have a wholesale account because I used to have a flower shop, and I've kept my wholesale accounts. So I buy a lot of my product online. I find it easier for me to cut all my things ahead of time so that I have everything in line when I'm ready to start designing. And get a good heavy-duty pair of wire cutters. I got mine from Sears. I believe they're called Crescent. These are my favorite by far because they're spring-loaded, so they'll open back up for me. So now I'm going to start adding my greens first all around to give myself a perimeter that I'm going to work with in the vase. What I do to keep everything even is as I put the grasses in, I'm going to keep turning my vase so that I can get it even all the way around. I like to pull the greens to the top of the stem, and in order to do that I have to use my teeth because my left arm doesn't work. I think the grass has just given a nice light and airy flow. You can also take your grasses and kind of bend them so they look a little natural. So, kind of like you would do a ribbon. I'm just kind of running my hands along the length of the grass, and it gives it a little, like a little fall, like a waterfall almost. So it looks like the grass is kind of growing out of the vase. I've had to relearn how to do my craft with one hand, which is sometimes is extremely frustrating and aggravating, knowing that most things take two hands to do. So, being the fact that I've been handicapped now for almost 7 years, I've had to learn how to live my new normal and still do what I love to do, which is design with flowers. And silk flowers are very forgiving. I can bend them the way I need them to. I can keep them for long distances of time in my workroom without them dying. And they last forever, so they're a good present to give somebody. So I've got my grasses done. I'm also going to add some maidenhair fern, which I think looks very natural, close to real fern that you find at your florist, like leatherleaf fern. So I'm going to go through my vase and add some of this. And then after I finish greening out my vase, I'll start adding my roses. Some of the wire stems that I cut are extremely thick and very hard to cut, which sometimes takes two hands to push together the wire. So I had to find a really strong pair of wire cutters. And I found these at Sears also. They're actually piano wire cutters, so they work on a piano. They are by Knipex, Knipex, also found at Sears. And they are wonderful with cutting real heavy wire stems. See, this is my maidenhair fern, which looks similar to little pieces of leather leaf that you'd find in a vase of roses from your florist. I'm going to spread this throughout my vase, trying to give myself a nice base surrounding of green, so then I can add my roses to it. All the while I keep turning to make sure that I'm getting the design even all the way around the vase. I have brought my floral foam from the bottom of the vase, and I cut it so it's skinny enough to come all the way up to the top, so that I have a foam surface to work with up here. It's easier for me to work with foam and silk flowers because everything stays in the place that I put it. I'm also trying to do my greens in layers, like I have a bottom layer, so it gives the arrangement depth. So I'm starting on the bottom and also adding some through the center, but still fanning outward as if it's growing through the center and coming out. I find that if I put greens throughout the whole arrangement, it gives my arrangement depth. I'm working in my basement workroom that I have set up for my business. I have a large supply of spring, fall, Christmas flowers. It changes with the seasons, so I can try to stay ahead of the orders. As they come in, I have what I need to work with. And plus, I love being surrounded by all this beauty. Having marbles in the vase also keeps it a little sturdier for me to work with. Since I can't hold the vase with my left hand, I need it not to move too much on me. So putting the marbles in, yes, it will increase the cost of the arrangement because there's quite a few marbles in here. But I'm hoping that somebody, when they see it, how pretty it will become when I'm done with it, that they'll be willing to pay the price that I have on it that's worth my products and my time. So right now I try to mark my items at a reasonable price to keep them selling and to keep my business going, because it's good therapy for me with my stroke recovery to keep doing what I love in designing with flowers. And the way to do that is to make sure that the things I make sell so I can keep on designing. So I try not to price things too high, and I can pass that savings on to my customers. I have one last green I'm going to add so that the vase looks very elegant and worth the money a gentleman would want to give his significant other for roses for Valentine's Day, or just to say I love you. So I'm going to add some ficus leaves to my arrangement. Just little stems. I've cut off one long stem that I'm going to spread throughout my vase. It'll also help me get some height in my arrangement. Now sometimes I need a longer stem than what I have, and there's a little stem of leaves here at the bottom that I'm going to cut off so that I have a nice long stem. I save every single one of these little pieces that I cut off, because then I can put a wire pick on them and use them in smaller arrangements at a later time if I need to. So I do not throw these away. I save them. And I'll be right back. I need to get one more stem of ficus leaves, so I'll be right back. Okay, I've got my other stem of ficus leaves. I'm going to cut the little stems off of the main branch so that I can spread them around in my arrangement. Keep on turning. Shoot, got stem in my glue. This is a tall stem. So I've got one tall stem facing this way. I'm going to turn it around so I've got one facing the back because I like to make sure that my arrangements are all around. So if somebody wants to put it in the middle of a table, then you can see the beauty from all around the directions of the vase. I think I've got enough base now of greens to start with, and I'm going to start adding my red roses, which I've pre-cut. And I've taken a whole bush of red roses that I got from my wholesaler and cut them all off the bush, but I'm going to use each one in the arrangement. I want to start with my center flower. This is how I start mine. Other designers might like to start from the base and move in, but I start from the tall flower and work my way out. So I'm going to look for my tallest rose that I can find, which is going to be this one, and the greens are down here at the bottom. I want to move them to the top. Very hard to do, so I can't get any further, so that's where they're going to stay. I put that right in the center, and then I'm going to work myself in tiers down, because you basically want to try to form a triangle when you're designing. So I'm going to work my other flowers around this center flower. You can see I've got my triangle here. I'm going to turn my vase and do the same thing on this side. It gives, in my opinion, it gives the proper visualization of space in the arrangement. So it has a nice airy flow. And I pretty much have the base of my beginning of my arrangement. Now I'm just going to fill in the rest of the vase with all the rest of my roses to fill it out. Try to make it a nice full vase of red roses. I think it's important to keep turning the vase to make sure that you're getting your arrangement even throughout the whole thing. I see several large holes where I need another rose, so I'm going to grab another another bush of roses so I can do some fill-in for my spots. I'll be right back. See, I get them delivered in a big bush like this. I'm going to cut my roses off this main stem and try to fill in the holes in the arrangement with these roses here. These roses came with a tiny bit of baby's breath attached to it. I'll probably be adding a small amount of baby's breath around some more, because what I've learned from being in the flower business is that most people expect a dozen roses with baby's breath or a rose arrangement with baby's breath for Valentine's Day. So I'm going to give them that, but in silk flowers. And they can give it to their loved one and tell them that their love will last forever, just like their flowers, because these will not die. They will stay on your table or on your desk forever. And what a nice way to say that I love you, by giving them forever flowers. Almost done. I just need a few more around the base, and then I'm going to add my baby's breath. I like to have it so that no matter which way you turn your vase, you can see all the pretty roses from underneath and as well as on top. Almost done. I have one rose left, and I am going to use it all. So basically what this person is getting in this large vase is going to be about 20 roses, or almost 24 roses, which in scale to this large vase that I'm using works, because the larger the vase, the larger the arrangement. Usually it's about 1.5 times the size of the vase. It should be your height. And that's what I'm working with. I'm just going to grab some baby's breath to fill in, and then we'll be done. have this wonderful baby's breath that I got from my wholesaler. It truly looks real. It almost looks like, for any of you florists out there, know Million Star Baby's Breath. Really pretty, really fluffy, great gypsophilia. So I'm going to spread this throughout the roses so you get the effect of getting 2 dozen roses on Valentine's Day that'll last you forever. And silk flowers are not what they used to be. They used to be very plasticky. I really try hard to find the silk flowers that I use to look very real. Some of my flowers even have a real touch to them. They actually feel like the real fresh flowers. So I think silk flowers need to come back. People need to give them a chance. So I'm going to take my baby's breath stems and spread them around in my vase now. Meanwhile, keep turning the vase. I have something that's very difficult. I need some baby's breath up near the top, but my stem isn't long enough. So I'm actually going to put a wire pick on the bottom of my stem, which I use a wire pick machine. It's very expensive. Florists use it. It's extremely difficult to use with one hand, but I've managed to find a way to do it. So I'm going to take a minute and go put a wire pick on the bottom of this, and then I'll come back and show you what it looks like after it's done so that I can get some height to my flowers. See, what I have is I've taken this shorter stem and I've added this wire pick to the bottom of the stem, which will give me some height so I can get some baby's breath up to the top of my arrangement. It actually makes your stem longer and it keeps it very secure in your oasis. It's definitely a nice thing to have for silk flowers because a lot of the stems I work with are shorter and I need them to be taller or more secure in the floral foam. And this wire stem machine is great for that. I have enough around the bottom of my vase, but I need some taller through the center. So I'm going to take some of another pack of baby's breath and get some of my longer stems to put up through the center, which I might need to use my pick machine again. I'm going to go put a wire pick on a couple of these and I'll be back. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the vase and look for any big blank holes that I might have in my arrangement, where I might need a piece of baby's breath, probably down near the bottom. So if somebody is sitting at a table and looking at the bottom of the arrangement, you don't see anything but the underside of the arrangement. You can see some of the flowers that are down towards the bottom. All the while, make sure you get your stems pushed deep into the floral foam so that they won't fall out on you. The best thing to do is when you're done with something is to stand back and take a look at it and see from far away if it looks pretty even. I think I'm pretty even all the way around. Clean up any little glue spider webs you might have on your flowers, or any price tags you might have forgotten to take off. Make sure they come off. And I have one last finishing touch that I'm going to add to this arrangement. I have an I love you balloon on a stick that I'm going to put down through the center of this. Sometimes the leaves or the moss is in the way of getting a good insertion into the foam. So I wanted to show on the top of my vase. So I've got basically 24 roses in a red vase, silk flowers for Valentine's Day, all ready to go out the door. I'll be back to show you some more videos when I am set up and ready to go. Thanks for watching.